This podcast was written and created by Avi Melamed, Middle East intelligence analyst and founder of the Inside the Middle East Institute.
The burst of clashes between Syrian Kurds and the Syrian government in the beginning of 2026 are a reminder of a deeper Kurdish reality. Time and again, the Kurds have been mobilized as partners, allies, or proxies, only to be abandoned when geopolitical interests shift. Avi Melamed is sharing with us in a series of podcasts the unique saga of the Kurds. Who the Kurds are. This is Episode 3, Iraq, South Kurdistan. Let's dive in.
It really is the crucial piece of the puzzle here.
To understand the whole picture of the Kurdish struggle.
Exactly. If you want to get a handle on the modern Kurdish political experiment, you have to look at the Kurds of Iraq.
And Melamed's analysis really focuses on them as the most politically empowered community of them all.
They are, but that power comes with some very, very heavy caveats.
Right, because we should be clear. We are not talking about a fringe minority here.
Not at all.
We're looking at, what, 5.5 to maybe 6.5 million people?
That's right. It's about 15 to 20% of Iraq's entire population. They're concentrated in the north.
In the Kurdistan region, Erbil, Duhok, Sulaymaniyah.
And, of course, the big prize, the very oil-rich city of Kirkuk.
But that demographic weight, as you said, it comes with caveats. It hasn't always protected them.
No, it really hasn't. To understand their drive for autonomy today, you have to look back at the sheer trauma of the Ba'athist era. Melamed highlights the Al-Anfal campaign in the late 80s.
And this wasn't just political suppression. This was systematic.
It was an attempt at erasure. We're talking about mass executions, chemical weapons.
That kind of history creates a survivor's mentality. It has to define everything that comes after.
It absolutely does. And that survival instinct, it really kicked into high gear in 1992.
When the world was, largely looking elsewhere.
Completely distracted. The Iraqi Kurds held their own elections and formed the KRG, the Kurdistan Regional Government.
And this is such a critical point. They essentially built a state within a state a full decade before the U.S. invasion of Iraq.
Yes. So by the time the 2005 Iraqi constitution came along and federalized the country,
the KRG was already a fact on the ground.
It already had its own parliament and, crucially, its own security forces.
The Peshmerga.
Peshmerga. And having your own recognized military, well, that changes the entire equation. The Constitution basically solidified their role. There is even a convention that the president of Iraq is always a Kurd.
But that title, it feels largely symbolic when you look at the actual day-to-day relationship with Baghdad.
Oh, it's not a happy marriage. Melamed describes it as recurring tension and fragile compromise.
A constant tug-of-war.
Budgets, oil revenue, territory, you name it. And that tension, it just snapped in 2017.
The independence referendum.
A massive, massive miscalculation. The KRG gambled on a vote for full independence, and Baghdad saw it as a complete existential threat.
And the response was harsh.
It was incredibly swift. The central government clamped down, it took back control of borders of airspace, and it pushed the Kurds right out of disputed areas like Kirkuk.
And that right there is the pivot point in Melamed's analysis. He notes a shift from
open confrontation to managed dependency.
Managed dependency. That phrase says it all.
It's vital. The KRG still has its autonomy on paper, but Baghdad now holds the purse strings much, much tighter. Their fiscal survival is, let's just say it's conditional.
Okay, so if the relationship with Baghdad is complicated, the relationship with Turkey is a flat-out geopolitical riddle.
It is a total paradox.
How can Turkey be fighting Kurdish separatists at home, but also be the primary economic lifeline for the Kurdish government in Iraq?
It's what Melamed calls a relationship that is pragmatic but deeply asymmetrical.
So Turkey is against Kurdish independence.
Vehemently against it. But they see huge value in an autonomous KRG inside of Iraq.
What?
Oil. The KRG's main export route is a pipeline that runs through Turkey. It's a huge trade relationship.
So it's a trade-off. The KRG gets economic survival, but Turkey gets...
What? Security access. Turkey conducts military operations against the PKK, the Turkish Kurdish militants inside Iraqi territory.
Wow. So the KRG has to quietly allow that to keep the oil flowing.
They have to facilitate it, even though it enrages their own population. It's a brutal tightrope to walk.
You're letting a foreign power bomb your ethnic kin to save your economy.
Which is why Melamed's summary is so perfect. He calls it a relationship of cooperation without trust and security without full sovereignty.
So for you, the listener, trying to place this in the wider Middle East context, the Iraqi Kurds have achieved what no other Kurdish group has.
A recognized government, an army.
But the walls are closing in.
That's the takeaway. They're the most successful example of Kurdish self-rule, but their room to maneuver has narrowed significantly since 2017.
They're powerful, but that power is hemmed in by Baghdad's money and Turkey's military.
A case study in the limits of autonomy.
But as we know, the Kurdish story shifts dramatically when you cross the border.
Absolutely.
In our next episode, not less intriguing, the story of another Kurdish autonomy in Iraq's western neighbor Syria.
This podcast is made possible by supporters like you. ITME is an independent, nonprofit institute committed to apolitical, intelligence-based Middle East education.
To learn more, or to support our work, visit our website www.insidethemiddle-east.com.